Switcheroo. And now we're going to have attorney Terry Peden is up, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of stuff to say. He is the owner of law firm. He's the owner of a law firm, abolitionist, educator, all wrapped up into Terry Peden.
All wrapped up into one.
Yep.
First and foremost, thank you to the Prison Show for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for all the listeners for your attention. So this week, how much time I got?
You have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes?
Yeah, no, you have 15.
15 minutes? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I want to share a couple things with you all. I know that we're broadcast across a bunch of states now, which is a good thing. I practice parole law here in the state of Texas, amongst other things. So I kind of want to speak directly to parole eligibility. This is a call and a question I get pretty often, at least once or twice a week, in terms of parole eligibility in the state. So each state has its own metric for defining when an inmate becomes parole eligible based on their offense, based upon the amount of time that they've been convicted and sentenced to. But in Texas, you're going to get amount of time, and then depending on whether or not your offense is 3G or basically being an aggravated offense, or if it's a non 3G offense, that's going to kind of dictate the calculation. So all 3G offenses, you have to serve 50% of your overall time before you become parole eligible. Another common question is, well, do they get credit for the time they spend in the county jail? You should. Only way you probably wouldn't is if, say, you were on probation and, you know, before you got sentenced and sent to TDC, there was a probation violation, maybe something like that. But for the most part, you should get credit. So again, if you got a 3G offense, aggravated violent crime, they're going to make you do 50% before you become parole eligible, regardless of how much time you got. But for all of those who do not have 3G offenses, non-aggravated offenses, there's a tricky math computation. But if you go online and you Google parole eligibility chart in Texas, you can find a bunch of lawyers that have this chart available online. You can see what I'm saying for yourself. So I'm not going to go through every single year, but we're just going to start at 1 year. So if you're sentenced to 1 year, well, that's not even good. Let's go 2 years for a state jail felony. So if you got hit with a little two-piece, first of all,
A two-piece.
First of all, don't cry, okay, because you're finna come home. You know, but if you got hit with a two-piece, you technically become parole eligible after serving 2 months and 25 days. So one of the common questions I get is like, hey, my loved one got sentenced to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and technically they've become parole eligible, but they haven't even left the county jail yet. They haven't made it to the state prison system, and they become parole eligible, and then they're calling me trying to get parole representation. And the overall point, I'll go ahead and spill the beans now, but hey, if your loved one has become parole eligible and they're still in the county, I would not advise you to hire a parole attorney at that point, because they're probably not going to be granted parole. Right, this is an entire system. They are going to want to make some money, like not to go down the rabbit hole. And some of the people are like, oh, it's just statistical information, and however much time you serve it dictate when you're going to make parole, and da-da-da-da-da. I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, but it's not like if you haven't served 37.5% of your sentence, they're not going to let you make parole because it goes against their numbers. That's kind of a little tinfoil koofy talk, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so if you're still in the county, you're coming up for parole, I wouldn't hire at that point. And then if you got a pretty short sentence, it depends on the totality of the circumstances. But once you get sent to prison, if you just got there and say you're coming up for parole 2 months after you arrived in prison, I wouldn't advise you hiring a parole attorney at that point either. For me, I structure my representation where I stick with my clients a total of 3 hearings and for one flat price. So I don't even, depending, I mean, it has to be really different type of facts for this client's case. Like, for example, if you sat in the county for 2 or 3 years, it might make sense to hire a parole attorney, you know, if the facts of your case and the amount of time you did in the county makes sense, that, hey, you actually might make it. on your first parole review. But if not, just kind of give it a minute. So 2 years, you'll be up in 2 months and 25 days. If you got hit with a 5-piece, no biscuit, just a little 5. You got a little 5 on you, you're gonna be parole eligible after serving 7 months and 3 days. If you got hit with a 10-piece chicken nugget, that you're gonna have to serve 1 year, 2 months, and 8 days before you become parole eligible. 15, not a big difference, right? You're looking at 1 year and 9 months. If you got hit with a 20, you got dubbed, like you playing Madden. Y'all play Madden, and you're getting whooped by 3 touchdowns. You got dubbed. If you're in there getting dubbed, you got to serve 2 years, 4 months, and 12 days. 30-piece extendo, 3 years, 6 months, 18 days, and I'll just take it all the way. Let's go to 50. If you got a 50-piece, and this is crazy, right? If you got sentenced to 50 years, you'll be up for parole in 5 years and 11 months. If you got hit with an Elroy, a elbow, a LL Bean, you got to serve 7 years, 1 month, and 15 days. Like, for example, I've helped a client with they gave him a life sentence for organized crime. They stole some cigarettes off the back of a truck behind Walmart, and they hit him with. I was like, that's crazy, man. Y'all wrong for that. I think that was Montgomery County.
Of course.
You gotta do better. Okay, so that's that. Again, moral of the story is just be conscious and be real, be realistic. If they haven't done a lot of time in the county, they're probably not gonna make it if they're being considered for parole and they haven't even been sent to the system. And if they just got there on their first review and they got a couple years to go, just be mindful, consider all the circumstances. Okay, now, let me see.